Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. It is so great to be here with you. Shondell Summer is here with me. We haven't seen each other in a while.
That's right.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yes. Thank you. It was a lovely Christmas this year.
Yep. And following, you've been following Ole Miss football, which we'll talk about later. But it's been a tough year for both of us.
In terms of football?
Football, yes.
Yes, I went to the Sugar Bowl, so that was exciting. That's one of the first times I've seen Georgia play Ole Miss, and that was incredible. And then, of course, last night was incredible, and I'm exhausted this morning, but I did stay with it till the bitter end.
So we're going to talk about a lot of things that are going on today, and there are a lot of things in the news. But I want to start out with kind of a nice story, actually. The man that saved the people on Bondi Beach in Australia has been in D.C. for the last couple of days. There's been a lot of galas honoring him, and he's been getting a lot of love from people around the world, not just in Australia. But I wanted to play this little clip because he met with John Fetterman and with some Jewish leaders. And this man, Ahmed, and I get his last name wrong all the time, so I'm just going to call him Ahmed. But he is the guy that ran the fruit stand on the beach, on Bondi Beach, when that awful shooting happened against Jews on the beach on the first night of Hanukkah. And dozens of people were killed and injured. And this man, who is a Muslim man, ran and disarmed one of the shooters, took shots himself, was in the hospital for a while. And there's just a lot of really wonderful pictures and videos of him around the internet meeting people of all kinds of people, Muslim people, Jewish people, Christian people, and this overwhelming kind of positive reaction to that really heroic thing he did. It was a heroic thing to insert yourself in something like that.
Yes, I think there were several people who did things like that, which is really commendable. Under the circumstances, I think most people tend to scatter when they hear gunfire. And so to actually engage and try to disarm someone is a fabulous gesture on his part, and he does deserve to be honored.
He does deserve it. So here is him meeting in the office with John Fetterman.
To see what Ahmed Al-Ahmed did when he saw somebody literally murdering people in cold blood, put his own life on the line, and indeed got shot for his good deeds. He had 5 bullets in him and now just miraculously recovered. That shows a light in the darkness that we were unfortunately made to experience. These 2 senators are from 2 different parties, but have decided to send a message of agreeability, even with different opinions. A very, very important message for the world in these days. But the message that they have sent is the reason why this is the only private Senate meeting except for the Foreign Relations Committee. The rest is only with leadership.
Something truly devastating. For me, it was people who are close to me, friends that I knew for over 3 decades.
It's truly, truly remarkable what you've done. You've really inspired the world. You've done truly heroic things and put your life on the line that way. And it's a deep, deep honor to meet you and to shake your hand.
One of the things that's brought us together is just this horrible rise of anti-Semitism. We saw it in our community at Tree of Life. We saw it on October 7th. We saw it on Bondi Beach. Absolutely disgraceful. And this moment for the country and for the world, it's a time of choosing. It's a time for moral clarity. You can't prepare for that. There's a moment and you have to choose. You chose to stand against hate and violence. I think it's an inspiration to people like us to continue to make sure we never miss the opportunity to fight against hatred and anti-Semitism.
So what's interesting about this, and we're going to talk about all the things we, that are controversial throughout this program today. But this is Dave McCormick and John Fetterman, who are the senators from Pennsylvania. One's a Democrat, one's a Republican. They have agreed on a lot of issues. I mean, the one that really brought them together, though, was the Israel. They both stand with Israel in the same way. With everything that's going on in Iran right now, which, we're focused so much on a lot of other things here, rightly so. There's in Iran, there's this really interesting thing going on where there's a huge protests. The police are participating with the protesters. The mullahs have now turned off all the, they've turned off the power. They've turned off the internet. Elon Musk has provided Starlink internet. And what's really weird to me is they've shut down Iranian TV, except they're playing Tucker Carlson. The mullahs are playing Tucker Carlson for the Iranians to see all the kind of pro-Iranian stuff he's been saying recently, which is weird. But there's this kind of Arab Spring going on in the winter right now in Iran, and I've seen a lot of Israelis and Iranians in meetings talking about things, which, I mean, if they get to the point that they overthrow this mullah, and the Shah of Iran's son has said he's ready to go back and create a democratic government, it's an interesting time.
Yes, I mean, we've been here before, and I never felt like they got the support they needed when Obama was president. I have to acknowledge that. And I think it would be great for them to overthrow the mullahs and, join the rest of the community of world leaders who are interested in doing business with each other, who don't want to isolate countries and condemn them to these sanctions and financial ruin, basically, for their people, because they want to kill people.
Yeah.
Because they want to, especially a particularly targeted culture like Israel. And so if everybody could get on the same page, and Iran is a huge player, so they were at one time a very civilized country. And then the mullahs came in and took over, and the ayatollahs came in, and then all of a sudden they were isolated, and it has not been good for them. And I think the young people who have access to the internet are the ones who are provoking this revolution, and hopefully this time it will be successful.
So earlier this week, I spoke with Mary Eisen, who is a retired colonel in the IDF, but her specialty is, intelligence, and she does a lot of communications work, but relationships between countries. And she was great in talking about that there was in the past a pretty good relationship between Iran and Israel back when the Shah was there. And there's no reason why there can't be again, because they have a lot more in common as far as the kinds of things they could do together. And so it was a real positive thing. And she was just a bang up female leader. That's one of the things I really do love about Israel is that, and I think it's because of everybody serves. You have a lot of women that are in these leadership positions, so that when they come out of the IDF, they still carry this on. But what was so interesting, I asked her, like I ask every Israeli that I talked to, where they were on October 7th, and it's kind of like I'll ask an FDNY where they were on September 11th. And she's long retired. She and her husband are both long retired from the IDF. Both of them picked up what they called their go bag, went to wherever they could report to help. She ended up talking to media. That's what she did. She talked to media. Her husband did other intelligence kind of things. And all three of her children were reporting to duty stations on that day. It is impressive when you see that.
Yeah, I've always been impressed by the fact that they make all of the young people serve in the military, females and males. Mm-hmm. And I think that says a lot about their society, and I think that's why they're thriving. I mean, it's probably one of the most successful democracies out there.
Well, and I have a theory. We talk a lot about divisiveness, and we will get into the issues of the day, people, and you can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. But, people always lament about how Democrats and Republicans are so polarized and we don't get along as well as we did. And I don't think there's any denying that. But I have this theory that up until about the mid-1990s, pretty much everyone that served in the Congress had some sort of military service. And so because of that, they had a place to start, even if they might have been Democrats and Republicans. They had a place to start of camaraderie. And it's kind of similar in Israel, that even though you've got sometimes 5 or 6 different parties in the Knesset, and it's only 120 members, so you're talking about a few people sometimes that are in your same party. You don't have a coalition of 200 because there's only 120 in the whole group. But because they have that common experience, they have a level of respect that they start with. And then you can build on that, on top of that. Now, I'm not saying that means I think everybody should be in the military. But I will tell you, after our trip to Israel, that's one of the things that a lot of the people who were legislators came away with, that how cohesive the society was, mainly because of the military service.
Well, of course, I grew up in the military.
Yes.
And my father was kind of odd in that he was a high-ranking military officer, but he didn't necessarily toe the party line all the time. I mean, I remember him always encouraging me to look beyond sort of the rhetoric and of course the 1960s was such a turbulent time when there was less faith in government, and then because of Richard Nixon and the events of Watergate, and then we had the 70s with Jimmy Carter, where there was less faith in government because the economy was doing so poorly. So I think there's always been dissension. I think when you're living through it, it feels like it's the most intense time in the world.
Yeah,
like now feels like the most divisive time in my lifetime.
Well, and they think I think it's kind of these 50-year cycles. So the 70s and late 60s and early 70s was the last time. But you and I were in high school and college, so we were having a good time.
True.
We didn't see it the way our parents did. My parents were lamenting how people weren't getting along. I can remember my father talking about it because he was a World War II veteran, which was the good war, and he didn't understand how people could not support the military. And my siblings who were teenagers at that time, and he would have debates at the dinner table about it. My brother was in ROTC, but he helped at the first aid station of a protest at Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana, and he got called up, in front of the military, whatever the military justice was of that, because he, as an ROTC member, they didn't think he should even help at the first aid station. He thought helping at the first aid station would be a way he could not violate the rules of his ROTC scholarship, but he could also be helpful. That's the way he looked at it, but he paid a price for that. And so I think it's interesting to see, because I do think, it's a great thing that we can choose a million different things and we don't have 3 channels anymore and all that kind of stuff, but we are more divided because we can divide ourselves in ways that we never could before.
Well, it's interesting because of social media that you can easily find like-minded voices. You're targeted with the algorithm to only see articles which support a position, which that always freaks me out. I'll be looking at something and then I get an ad for it. The fact that somebody is actually paying attention, whether it's a computer or AI or whoever it is out there, that we have fought for all these freedoms and then we've given them all up by having cell phones.
Oh my God, yeah. And it's so connected in that I might be looking at something on my laptop, and then when I turn on my Roku TV,
it's on the TV
It's
now.
on the TV now.
Right. Well, and that's I noticed that too the other day when I was like, wow, what an obscure company to all of a sudden be on my TV as a commercial. But the thing that freaks me out is when I'm talking about something and then I immediately get some type of article about it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a little creepy.
Do you know what's funny? And I'm sure this doesn't help because I kind of am a firm believer we gave up our privacy a long time ago. It's been gone for a while. But we've got to the point now, our kids gave us these Alexa things several years ago. And I do love saying, hey, Alexa, play the best of the Beatles. Hey,
right.
Alexa, find me a recipe for this, set a timer. I mean, I love doing all of that. It makes me feel,
convenient.
so Jetsons in 21st century,
True.
But now we unplug them. If we're using them, like if we're listening to music or have a party or whatever, I'll plug it in. But if Lynn and I are just talking and it's just, I unplug it. I'm sure they can still hear me through my phone, but it makes me feel like I'm doing something.
You need a safe room from your devices, right?
That's right. We'll take a break and we'll be back.
This week on Bud's Garage, what's growing under your seats? Ford news and rumors and hybrid motorcycle. That's Bud's Garage, presented by Child's Family Dentistry, North Atlanta Customs, and Clay Motorsports. Saturday at noon, right here on North Georgia's News Talk, WDUN.
Happy New Year from your Hall County Tax Commissioner, Darla Eden.
We know paying taxes isn't exactly your favorite part of the year. We've worked hard to make it simple and stress-free. And a friendly reminder, property taxes are due January 23rd. Want to skip the lines? Head over to hallcountytax.org. You can look up your bill, check your balance, and make a secure payment anytime, anywhere. Have a question? Text us at 833-602-8497 for a quick, convenient response. Enjoy that. It's finally done. Peace of mind.
For the Norton Agency, selling real estate is personal. Our family name and reputation stand behind every sign, every business card, every associate, and every sale. With the ever-changing real estate practice, we hold strong ideals and professionally train and support our real estate advocates through every segment of the complicated process. I'm Frank Norton, and you can count on it. Norton, now more than ever. Call us at 770-532-0022 or look for us on the web at gonorton.com. Our family serving North Georgia for 4 generations.
You already know Gainesville Mechanical for their award-winning HVAC service, but did you know they handle plumbing too? Because plumbing problems never happen at a good time, you need a trusted, experienced team there when they do. From small leaks to major repairs, Gainesville Mechanical is here for you with 24/7 no overtime rates through their Customer Assurance Maintenance Plan. Proud to be named Best of Hall for HVAC and plumbing, Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep North Georgia cool since 1989.
Here's the tale of Tina, searching up and down for decent GLP-1s, but got spun around.
Till GoodRx wrote in, hey, we got something new. GLP-1 prescriptions, all FDA approved.
Brand name meds, no flags that are red.
Clear pricing from the start. None of those hidden fees in your cart.
Delivered to your door or pick up same day. Darn tootin'.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
Hotfoot to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, authorities have arrested a second suspect this week behind a Hall County chop shop case. Details at Access WDUN. And coming up on Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger. Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing?
So what's interesting about this, Shondell, is that's Chicago Police Department Superintendent Larry Snelling. So that's the head of the police department in Chicago, feeling called to make a statement because of what happened in Minneapolis that, hey, if you're following police officers around, if you're boxing them in, if you are doing things like in Minnesota, they had these signals. They'd whistle when they saw ice and they'd do this stuff, and that would let you know to go and gather around. That you're basically with this guy in Chicago, which they have their own set of problems, right? They have obviously, but this is the head of the police department It also is similar to what, after the shooting that happened in Minneapolis, that even though I criticized some of the things that Walz came out and said immediately, Governor Walz, he did have his chief of police get up and say, you can't get in the road, you can't use your vehicle. This was after it happened. You can't use your vehicle to block police officers, all this stuff to say, hey. And it reminded me of when Kasim Reed in the Michael Brown protest that happened a number of years ago, that when they were trying to block the connector with crowds of people, literally Kasim Reed, he had a lot of problems, but in this moment, he was 100% right. He walked out into the crowd, made them part, and he said, you can protest anywhere on the sidewalk. You get in the road, and we're going to stop you. So it's interesting, and I played that mainly because this is the head of Chicago police.
Well, you have the right to protest.
Absolutely.
Law enforcement activity.
Absolutely.
You have the right to observe law enforcement activity. You have the right to videotape law enforcement activity. And it seems to me, and I watched it yesterday because I was glued to the television. And of course, now we have frame by frame and analysis by just about everybody in the world.
It's like the Zapruder film.
Right. I think I've gotten 4 on my Facebook last night. And so it seems to me that reasonable minds could differ as to whether or not she was simply obeying law enforcement commands to pull over, because there were 2 law enforcement officers barking out orders to her. One was saying, get out of the car. The other one was saying, move over. She could have been trying to get out of the way. She also could have been trying to obstruct. She could have been trying to obstruct their movement. However, there's a video of a car going around her, a law enforcement vehicle going around her just a few minutes before. So the fact that they were videotaping is not a crime.
No.
And quite frankly, this whole ICE movement and the idea that we're going to antagonize everyone by sending troops to your cities is making the Trump administration incredibly unpopular. And quite frankly, I think it's un-American.
So we will talk about more of this as we go on. We'll be back on the Martha Zoller Show.
North Georgia Land Trust. Is that what they call it, Brent?
Count, that's it. 35 years of commercial real estate, but I've always wanted to start a new land trust for North Georgia, a place where landowners can create a legacy for their land.
Everybody, we got Brent Hoffman in the studio today, and golly, Pete, this is interesting.
Well, thank you.
And all they have to do is communicate with you, right?
Just maybe go to our website, northgeorgialandtrust.org. Easy to find my phone number. Love to talk to you if you'd like to set aside land for future generations.
Well, tell me how you met Electronic Sales Company.
Paul and I have been a customer of yours for 34 years. It makes my wife feel good, the fact that we have a monitored alarm system, and you guys have done truly a good job.
Hey, folks, and if you're looking for what Brent's been experiencing for 30 plus years, call us at 770-532-3334. Also, we can be found on the website electronicsalesco.com.
For over 40 years, Eagle Ranch has helped thousands of children and families find healing and renewal. My name is John Shackelford, and I'm the Executive Director of Eagle Ranch. In 2021, our family felt a clear call to leave our life in Atlanta and come to steward the incredible legacy of the ranch into the future. The ranch continues to come alongside children and families through therapy, practical guidance, and resources, all anchored in the love of Christ. If you or someone you love needs the supportive, healing environment of Eagle Ranch, please encourage them to reach out to eagleranch.org.
Sunday's all about football as NFL wildcard coverage continues.
Wide open, it's caught, 10 to the 5, into the end zone.
We start with Bills and Jaguars at 1, followed by the 49ers and the Eagles with the Chargers and Patriots in the nightcap. Spend your Sunday with the NFL on North Georgia's Super Bowl station. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
Fox News, I'm Therese Crowley. This time, illegal migrant gang members accused of ramming Border Patrol agents as protest spreads to Portland, Oregon. Fox's Chanley Painter.
According to DHS, the Border Patrol agents were conducting a targeted vehicle stop around 2 p.m. local time yesterday, but When, quote, agents identified themselves to the vehicle occupants, the driver weaponized his vehicle and attempted to run over the law enforcement agent.
Agents fired defensive shots. The migrants fled and erroneously reported to 911 they'd been shot by ICE. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz evoking images of the Civil War, but calling for a day of peaceful protest over the fatal ICE shooting there. President Trump meets oil executives about rebuilding its oil production in Venezuela, and the U.S. added 50,000 jobs in December. The unemployment rate fell more than expected at 4.4%. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. 3 Hall County planners have been removed from their posts after accusations that they violated the Georgia Open Meetings Act. After Thursday's meeting, the Hall County Board of Commissioners Chair David Gibbs said that he felt good about the final decision.
I feel good about it. When you do wrong, you have to be held accountable, and that's what we're here to do, and that's what we're going to do.
The vote was 4-0 with District 2's Billy Powell not present. Gibbs said that all he knew was that Powell was out of town. Hall County Sheriff's Office is searching for a missing juvenile as of last report, and 15-year-old Josephine Mojica was last seen Wednesday at 10 p.m. in the 3400 block of Old Oak Ridge Road wearing a red hoodie, black sweatpants, and black shoes. She also has a nose piercing. A picture of Josephine and more details found at Access WDUN. And another hat is being thrown into the ring for the Georgia Secretary of State's race. More from GNN's Thomas Cage.
Fulton County Commissioner Dana Barrett has announced her candidacy for Georgia Secretary of State, aiming to bring her experience in fighting against a MAGA takeover of Georgia elections, lowering health care costs, and addressing overcrowding at Fulton County Jail to that position. Fox 5 Atlanta reports that Barrett, who currently represents District 3, is running in a competitive field that includes both Democratic and Republican candidates.
More news at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Good morning, North Georgia. A lot of cloud cover around. Any sun peak we'll consider a blessing. Areas of patchy fog and also scattered rain showers developing today. Mid-60s for highs. Periods of rain likely tonight, low 60s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Cornelia, 56 degrees. Lawrenceville, 59. And in Gainesville, 58. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
What if I were to tell you that a will is not nearly as powerful as General Hospital or John Grisham might tell you? This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and on the next Truth in Planning, financial advisor Gary Anderson and I will discuss the benefit of a trust in your estate plan. We'll also discuss the two-legged stool you may be standing on for retirement security.
We've done all the work. You just need to tune in to Truth in Planning, Saturday afternoon at 2 on WDUN.
When you have a problem with your roof, you want someone who can respond quickly, but also who knows roofing. That's what you get at Georgia Select Roofing. This is Chris Earls, and we do roofing right. Estimates are free, we can help you navigate your insurance claim, and we also offer financing. Check out our Google reviews, and you'll see that Georgia Select Roofing offers the best service around. See us today at GeorgiaSelectRoofing.com or call us at 678-316-6899. Family owned and operated, Georgia Select Roofing has you covered.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Scott? Panic? No, if I were Democrats, I'd be panicked because we now finally have a full airing of what happened here. Obamacare is a Democratic law. The Obamacare subsidies were a Democratic attempt to fix a bad Democratic law, and the sunset of Obamacare subsidies were put in by Democrats who had to pass the subsidies to fix their bad law in the first place. Now Republicans are in charge, and they are having to clean up this mess right now. And I do think when it goes over to the Senate, there are conversations happening about what to do about it. So they may wind up dealing with this Democratic mess. I also think what's going to happen in the House beyond this vote is I think you're going to see House Republican leaders do another reconciliation budget process, and they may yet still deal with health care and that. So as a governing matter, they do have some responsibilities here, but let's make no mistake. We're dealing with Obamacare and the horrific fallout of all the lies that have been told about Obamacare since it passed.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show, and joining me right now, as almost every Friday, we talk to Ron Hart. And Ron, there's obviously a lot of news that happened this week, from Venezuela to Minneapolis to Iran to what happened in the House yesterday, which was that the subsidies were passed. In a 3-year extension of the subsidies of the ACA was passed, and will go to the Senate it was a Democrat bill, but 17 Republicans crossed and voted to move it on. They're also voting through appropriations bills, which they think will keep us from having another shutdown at the end of the month. Your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, Obamacare was a disaster. Expensive. We knew it was going to be. It was not ever going to be affordable. It's just it's to help the insurance companies. They get the premiums. Insurance companies don't pay, and like they should pay to people. I mean, insurance companies are the biggest ripoff in America, and every ripoff in America, if you think about it, cable bills, water, higher education, is all government involved. It's government regulated, government priced, government involved. So you look anything that's basically double the rate of inflation. To the consumer, the government has their greedy paws in it, and that's healthcare is one of them.
So like today, the Energy Secretary is meeting with all the oil companies related to Venezuela. The president has got a meeting coming up either yesterday, today, or Monday. I've forgotten when it's going to be, with the insurance companies, basically saying that they're gouging the American people and they need to get their premiums down. And he also is addressing or giving his opinion on these homes that are owned by corporations. And in Atlanta, 25% of the homes that are owned by big corporations, as opposed to by the way mom and pop would buy a house and then rent it out, and then maybe they'd buy 2 houses and rent those out. It's a corporate entity kind of thing to try to get the prices of homes down. There's a lot going on from the economy standpoint. What do you think about that?
He's trying. I'm less enthused about him trying to tell people you can't buy homes. You can't tell a corporation you can't buy it. That's what the free market's about, right? You got to have all people, all oars in the water, all people doing things. So that's a little bit. Maybe that's pandering to people on this affordability issue. It's really interest rates that keep them from not being able to buy it. This market, it feels like we're in a correction right now.
Right. It's the combination of high home prices and high interest rates. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the amazing thing about markets, they tend to calibrate themselves. They find some equilibrium, right? So right now, prices will come down on houses. They got ahead of themselves. Prices will come down until the consumers start buying again, and that'll be the bottom. I mean, there's no straight line up. I mean, there's always cycles, and this is a cycle right now. I noticed in Chattanooga the other day, a lot of houses for sale, a lot of signs up, and it's winter. I mean, it's not even spring when most people put their house up. So some people are trapped in low mortgages and can't get out. It's a little messy right now, but that's the least important thing he's doing. The insurance companies are just a ripoff. They're the biggest supporter of local politics and federal politics. The insurance company, healthcare insurance companies' stocks tripled, doubled, quadrupled after Obamacare. They were not, they were all ensconced in the whole Obamacare thing. The old saying, if you're not at the table, you're on the table. So it threatened them. And, again, that's not a free market system that's allowed to work. I don't know why you and I can't go to Piedmont or some major hospital system and say, hey, I'm Martha, I'm Ron. I live here. I want to do, I want to be your patient, and I'll just pay you as I do things. I'll do insurance for you, whatever. But I don't need to have, wire my, fax something out to my insurance company, United Healthcare in Minneapolis, for crying out loud, the okay for you to see me. It's just so much paperwork, and doctors wear beepers. This is not the most cutting edge industry.
Yeah, it's crazy. So of course the other two big stories from this week was the Venezuela. And of course, I've been waiting all week to hear what you think about it, because I know you're very non-interventionalist and you also are libertarian.
Yeah, I'm a little, I have a quandary here. I said in the column this week, they sent an Uber for him. This was a drug arrest. This is not we don't have boots on the ground there. It was an amazing, feat of our flex of our military, being able to go in there and not get harmed the way we did. And for people out there who don't think these are drug boats going, they knew what floor, what bedroom Maduro was in, what day he was going to be there. You don't think they don't know these are drug boats?
Yes, yeah.
Don't even, our military is tremendous, and they're great. But then again, they have a leader now they trust, and still has their back, and so they can go be military like they're supposed to be. They're not DI. They don't have a commander in a dress like Klinger on MASH, commanding them. So they feel a little bit better about themselves, and they're emboldened to be good at what they do. We pay for this military. Why not use it? I mean, that's the great line during Civil War when, the Union generals weren't attacking the rebels, as Abraham Lincoln said to them. So if you're not using the army, our military, can I borrow it? So it sits there, might as well have them do these missions and learn. And I'm sure we walk away from these things like we did in Iran, learn something every time. But we're prepared, we paid for it, let's use it. But we hit and run. I like the idea of hit and run, not this occupation.
So Iran, okay. Wait a minute. I want to go back to Venezuela for a minute, because I do think that President Trump has shown that he's learned the lesson of Iraq. Because in Iraq, we got rid of Saddam Hussein, then we fired the whole Ba'athist structure, and then we got rid of the army, so we had a bunch of young men with guns that weren't getting paychecks. And what they seem to be trying to do here is kind of adjust the government, got rid of Maduro, but adjust the government to, and then have elections. So I am worried we're going to get too involved in this, but I think we've learned some lessons.
Yeah, I mean, who runs it? The Lane Kiffin's name has been bannered about. He's got his hat in the ring. He points to his work with Trinidad, so he may be. No, the Rodriguez is the person, and apparently they either have a side deal with her through back channels that she's going to act right, or if she doesn't, those gunboats are right off the shore.
Right.
And they'll come in and get her, snatch her up just as quick as they'll snatch up the rest of them. So I think he's going gently at this thing. So far, so good. I mean, he's such a nut job. I want to hear him out. I mean, he's been right. One thing about Trump, he's always directionally right. He's pretty much, he's ham-handed sometimes, but he pretty much does what the average person would do if they were in that seat. And, he doesn't, the permanent Washington pushes back on him all the time. Well, you didn't fill out the proper paperwork. You didn't go to the proper channels. Heck with that. That's what I'm going to do.
And you know what? Earl, he sat down with 4 reporters from the New York Times 2 days ago. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of that for like 4 hours. He sat down with 4 reporters from the New York Times for 4 hours with a wide-ranging interview on all kinds of topics. I'm really going to be interested to see what comes out from that. But finally, Iran. Okay, so we've got protests in the street. The police seem to not be impeding any of it. The mullahs have cut the internet, but Elon Musk has opened up Starlink so they can still use it. And for some reason on Iranian TV, they're running Tucker Carlson. I don't understand.
Well, Tucker's anti-Israel a little bit. Maybe that's why they're running it. He's not. Well, he likes Israel, but he's not. Hook, line, and sinker about everything Israel does. So Tucker's become a bit of a outlier there. An independent thinker, which I value. You got to have honest debate about things. You can't go down a path too far, too hard without rethinking everything from time to time. And Tucker's out there doing it. He doesn't care. He has the money, he has the time. He does his own thinking. So he's a good friend. I like Tucker a lot. So
he was always really good to me, and I like him. But I do get a little nervous about his seeming embracing of Islamic radicalism. It just seems to me
libertarian. He's non-interventionist. Though. I think he doesn't. I think he just kind of backs away, lets people do their own thing. He's dubious about Venezuela, and he's got some standoffish things. Look, we all see we're 0 for 5. Vietnam through Iraq. We're 0 for 5. We're not good at this, right? We're good at shock and awe, the initial go in, blow it up, flex type of move. We're not good about occupying and changing hearts and minds. That's got to come over time. So I think Trump realizes that, and I think he's backing off and let it go for a little bit, and FAFO. So he just basically those gunboats off the shore. I mean, they're not going to do a whole lot to hurt the people. And and by the way, the oil companies
and
he's meeting with,
fentanyl deaths are down 50% this year. For last year.
Yeah,
I mean, literally lives have been saved that are walking around.
50,000 jobs this month. Inflation's not bad under tariffs, and he's on a roll if they give him a little room here. And we need a good fourth estate. New York Times needs to lighten up. Like Venezuela, everything the Democrats reflexively protest everything. You can't protest everything Trump does. You got to be like Fetterman. Every now and then you got to call balls and strikes and say this is not a bad idea. Because you have no credibility if you cry wolf every time.
So, Ron, appreciate you being with us. Thank you so much. I'm watching CBS News, because they rolled out their new news cast this week.
Wise.
They're doing a great job. Yep. Thanks for being with us today. Thank you. We'll take a break.
This week on Travel with Anita and Friends, we explore the history of American money, from the first commemorative coins to the new U.S. Mint issues for America's 250th birthday. That's Saturday at 1 on WDUN. Always here, always local.
Some car dealers want to sell you a car. At Hardy Chevrolet, we'd rather help you find the vehicle that's right for you. This is Mike Cormier. We call it the Hardy Chevrolet difference. Since you're the one who will be in the driver's seat of that new Chevy, we think you should be in the driver's seat when it comes to making the selection. It's like Charles Hardy always said.
We love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Browns Bridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
Did you know that one of Georgia's 9 regional food banks is located right here in Hall County? The Georgia Mountain Food Bank collects and warehouses donated food and distributes it to more than 65 feeding partners and meal serve sites across our 5-county service area of Hall, Dawson, Lumpkin, Union, and Forsyth counties. Learn more about our mission and how you can make sure that people in our community have the food they need to thrive. Visit gmfb.org.
This is Grant Nichols, and at Loretta's Country Kitchen, we know life can really pile up. There's work getting the kids to practice and shopping. With all that, the week can really wear you out. The last thing you want to do is spend Saturday in the kitchen. Not to worry, we've just added lunch and dinner to our Saturday lineup at Loretta's. That's right, not only are we open for breakfast on Saturdays, but we're also serving up lunch from 11 till 2 and dinner from 4:30 until 8. Give your kitchen and your family a break with breakfast, lunch, and dinner Saturdays at Loretta's Country Kitchen, Mundy Mill Road, Oakwood, where it's all good.
We're talking with Mike Robertson of Oakwood Tire and More. And Mike, I understand you guys have moved. Where can we find you?
3440 Mabry Road, which is right off of Mountain View.
Still offering the same services?
We won't be doing alignments, but we'll be doing tires. Tires, brakes, batteries, tune-ups, those kind of things that normal maintenance repair.
Sounds good. Give us the address one more time. Make sure we don't miss out.
You can find us at 3440 Mabry Road at oakwoodtire.com or even the same phone number, 770-535-0943.
Hey, Daddy, what's in a crawl space?
That's a good question, Annie. I'm Cody Lovin with Crawl Space Medic. Musty smells, dampness, and sagging insulation means your crawl space or basement might need some attention. Our team quickly finds and fixes moisture problems, updates moisture barriers, and resolves structural issues, ensuring your home stays dry and comfortable. Don't let your crawl space problems affect your comfort, air quality, or property value. Visit crawlspacemedic.com.
A healthy home starts from the ground up.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, one driver is dead, another hurt from a Thursday head-on truck collision along Browns Bridge Road in Hall County. Details at Access WDUN. And coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. We're here with Shondell Summer, and we're talking about the issues of the day. I'm going to play just a little bit of this audio from Greg Gutfeld because he has kind of a different point of view about how we ought to look at Minneapolis, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what happened there. Let's go to the phones first before we play the audio. Let's talk to Joe in LJ. Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Martha, doing great. I just talked to Steve Moore when he got off Fox, and I've never seen Steve so fired up. He said that we're going to grow at the rate of 5%, which is unprecedented. I think Trump is by far the best leader in world history. The market continues to go up, and Steve told me to tell everybody that he thinks we'll hit 50,000 on the Dow in just any day now.
So
and
he and
said,
I,
Joe,
Steve and I talked about that.
It was 1,000.
Steve and I talked about that on our show on Monday, going to 50,000. So yeah.
Well, he said it could happen. So I tell you what, Martha, I've never been so bullish about the future of America with Trump, and you keep on doing the great job you're doing, and we have a lot of fun.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it very much. So let's play a little bit of this Greg Gutfeld audio.
No one has to watch this, and no one has to have an opinion about the shooting. Yeah. Let somebody else, let the experts figure that out. Don't be drawn into this. You don't have to play by the rules of the radicals. So the question, and Jesse brings it up, is why would a mother of a young child, a widow, consistently participate in aggressive confrontations with law enforcement? Why did she feel emboldened to break the law in an endless theater of chaos? Swept up in the latest demonization narrative that eggs on illegal and stupid behavior. Don't blame ICE. She wasn't the target. They were.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show. So you were reading something from...
Somewhat incendiary, I'd say.
Yeah. So from J. Tom Morgan, who put out a kind of and those who may not remember him, he's a former Fulton County prosecutor, right? J. Tom Morgan?
He was the DeKalb County DA.
DeKalb County, that's right. And he talked a little bit about, what we need to be looking at in this Minnesota case. So,
yes, he says regarding Minneapolis, the first shot fired by the officer arguably was justified, although he violated standard operating procedure and protocol by placing himself in front of a vehicle. The officer was in no imminent danger when he fired the second and third shots. The autopsy, which can possibly determine which bullet caused death, is critical. So is the investigation, including statements from other officers on the scene. If the second or third bullet can be determined as the cause of death, the officer should be charged with murder. Unfortunately, the man taking over the investigation, Patel, is beholden to the man who already lied and expressed an opinion on the case, Trump. This case requires that Congress demand an independent investigation and possible prosecution if supported by the evidence. The entire tragic situation would never have happened with well-trained officers on the scene. ICE agents are trained for immigration enforcement and not law enforcement. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is these ICE agents are not law enforcement who have arrest powers for, if you're speeding down the street, they don't get to go up and arrest you just because they're in law enforcement. They have specific jurisdiction. Their jurisdiction is to apprehend people who are in the country illegally. This woman was not in the country illegally. She was a U.S. citizen. She was protesting, observing, and filming law enforcement for violations of the law. So you can't necessarily detain her. You can't arrest her unless there's warrants pending for her arrest.
So in this case, and again, we don't know what led up before the video, after the video. So I'm not going to get into the video just because of that. We don't know everything there. But we do know that she was on the road, perpendicular on the road. I think
an
it's
icy road.
And
I think
it was
that's
an icy
a
road.
critical factor. And I saw video before. There's tons of video, so there's lots to investigate. And there were people going around her, and they were law enforcement going around her in large SUVs. So I don't know if they detained her because no one has said anything other than, okay, she's at fault. This is terrible. We're going to go ahead and condemn her in the press. Trump gets up and lies about it. Kristi Noem gets up and gaslights the American public. And we're all supposed to just act like sheep walking quietly to the slaughter.
But I think all around, I think Tim Walz shouldn't have gotten out and made the statements he made initially of saying it was a murder, saying that the officer was at fault. So, neither the mayor, so really it wasn't just Trump that got out and made a statement. The governor of Minnesota and the mayor got out and said things that he shouldn't have said, because anybody that's been in public office, and most of these people, most of them, Trump doesn't have a law degree, but most of the other people I mentioned, Waltz, these other guys all have law degrees. So they know a little bit. Just because they're a lawyer and a politician doesn't mean they know the law.
Thank you.
Okay. But what I'm saying is you should know that an hour or 2 or 3 after something's happened, you shouldn't go out and make a definitive statement.
Correct.
No matter who you are.
There's lots of factors that need to be taken into consideration. I mean, as an attorney, I can tell you, if you hear one side of the story, you generally believe it. And then when you find out other factors, then it colors your opinion. But people are acting on emotion these days, and we are also acting on this strong sense of partisanship. And so if you disagree with her political opinions, and I don't even know what her political opinions were, but all of a sudden she's demonized. She's a criminal. She's this, she's that. Or if you agree with her opinions, all of a sudden she's a mother of 3 with soft, beautiful blonde hair, and she just dropped her child off at school. It's like, get a grip. Let's wait for a proper investigation.
Yeah, I mean, and my biggest issue with all of these protests, and I don't care if it's people on my side protesting or people on the other side protesting, is you don't get in the street. I mean, in the road. You don't get in the road. It's not safe, period. You know, if peaceful protesting should be safe, by definition, if you're doing a peaceful protest, it should be safe. And getting into the middle of the road is not a smart idea anywhere you go.
Well, you have to a certain extent, get attention at a protest, right? Civil disobedience is an American principle. We started with dumping tea over the boats into Boston Harbor. That's the foundation of our country. We had sit-ins. We had people sitting at lunch counters to protest racial discrimination. So this is an American foundation. So you don't have to be afraid of protests.
No, you shouldn't be. Let's go to the phones and talk to Jim in Gillsville. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Hello, Martha. How you doing?
Good.
I believe the fault is because the governor and the mayor of Minneapolis refused to protect ICE agents from the rowdy crowds. If they would have been down there doing their jobs, which they refused to do, this wouldn't have happened.
Thanks for your call today. Appreciate it. And Shondell, that's really why I played that audio from the Chicago superintendent at the beginning, because Chicago's a very Democrat city. Probably everybody that's in office there is Democrat, very liberal city. But the head of police force says, hey, we need to work with these agencies when they come in because we're kind of all in this together. And that's why I played that audio, because I think it modeled the kind of behavior you should have when you're dealing with multiple organizations.
Well, you can't ambush police, no question about it. That's not rocket science. I mean, that is clear. You cannot block in a police caravan and prevent them from doing their job. That is obstruction of a police officer. That's different than protesting. And there's a fine line between what you consider protesting and what someone else considers obstruction.
I hear you.
So that's where we've got the dichotomy. But these ICE agents, make no mistake about it, people are furious that we have ICE agents coming into communities. And if you saw the films from this Minneapolis neighborhood, it didn't exactly look like the projects. It didn't exactly look like some place where you'd see a lot of migrants hiding out. It looked like a middle-class community with nice homes.
Yeah, and I don't know where they were going or what they were doing, but I think that there's a lot of things that need to be done in a better way with more cooperation. And they need to stop saying that ICE won't cooperate. They will cooperate, but you've got it. Cooperation is a two-way street. We'll be back.
You already know Gainesville Mechanical for their award-winning HVAC service, but did you know they handle plumbing too? Because plumbing problems never happen at a good time, you need a trusted, experienced team there when they do. From small leaks to major repairs, Gainesville Mechanical is here for you with 24/7 no overtime rates through their Customer Assurance Maintenance Plan. Proud to be named Best of Hall for HVAC and plumbing, Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep North Georgia cool since 1989.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
They're planning a moment of silence in Minnesota. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, for Renee Good, the woman shot and killed by an immigration officer Wednesday.
We need ICE out of Minneapolis now. We need ICE out of Minnesota now.
We need ICE away from our schools now.
Katina Taylor's a teacher and educators union local president. A Homeland Security Assistant Secretary just told Fox that ICE agents have recently arrested pedophiles.
I've seen the reports of who they've picked up, scores and scores of child pedophiles. These educators should really be thanking ICE.
As for the shooting that protesters call murder, Tricia McLaughlin also tells Fox Renee Good had stalked ICE, blocked their operation, and refused to comply with lawful orders.
And that's when she put her foot on the gas. And unfortunately, our law enforcement, he followed his training, but he did fire defensive shots. We are glad he's safe.
There are also anti-ICE protests in Portland, Oregon, where 2 people with alleged gang ties were shot and wounded in an immigration traffic stop. Homeland Security says a Border Patrol agent also acted in self-defense when the car was driven toward him. The U.S. military has seized another oil tanker this morning in the Caribbean, days after the operation that captured Venezuela's leader Nicolas Maduro. As President Trump plans a meeting with oil company executives later today discussing rebuilding Venezuela's oil industry. Energy Secretary Chris Wright tells Fox,
I think we're going to see a very, very positive change in the trajectory of Venezuela, which is great for that country, but it's tremendous for the American people.
President Trump posted on Truth Social he's canceled a planned second wave of attack for Venezuela, but the president also tells Fox's Hannity other countries could get targeted.
We've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by water, and we are going to start now hitting land.
There was a little less hiring last month than expected. 50,000 jobs created. The unemployment rate dropped to 4.4%, down 0.2 from November's rate, which was a 4-year high. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and after allegedly holding secret meetings and violating the Georgia Open Meetings Act, Thursday's Hall County Board of Commissioners meeting saw 3 planning committee members removed. The vote was nearly unanimous at 4-0, with District 2's Billy Powell not present.
I appreciate the job they did and gave for 45 years combined service. I hate that we had to do that, but I truly do believe for their 45 years combined service, they really had Hall County's best interest in heart.
That was District 4 Commissioner Jeff Stowe following the meeting, speaking with Access WDUN. Now, as far as any further appeals or actions by the planners, Stowe says that he was unsure of any plans. Now, registration and enrollment for various Gainesville City School System choice programs are soon to open for the 2026-27 school year. WDUN's Lawson Smith has the details.
The school district offers programs of choice for students in kindergarten through 8th grade. Students are assigned to schools based on their residential addresses, but may also apply to attend other schools in the system. Enrollment and signups will open for the pre-K lottery for city residents, enrollment for kindergarten, and more. Full details to register are on Access WDUN.
A previously arrested sex offender in Gwinnett County now faces new charges for allegedly illegally operating a massage parlor. More from WDUN's Logan Landers.
Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office says they arrested Tarek Mantori on Wednesday after their jail investigation unit and trace unit learned in December of 2025 that he failed to register his employment as is required by state law for sex offenders while allegedly operating an unspecified massage parlor without a license.
And very soon, all public schools in Georgia will have access to a life-saving drug that reverses the effects of opioid use. GNN's Rocio Rivera has details.
More than 700 Narcan kits are ready to be delivered to schools across the state. Georgia State Superintendent Richard Woods tells Atlanta News First students will now have hope to survive should they ever need a dose.
Each kit represents a child. Each child has a name. For a parent, that's extremely important.
The state is paying for the kits through the Opioid Abatement Trust, which has redirected money from settlements for prevention efforts in Georgia.
More news at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN Friday forecast.
Good morning, North Georgia. A lot of cloud cover around. Any sun peak we'll consider a blessing. Areas of patchy fog and also scattered rain showers developing today. Mid-60s for highs. Periods of rain likely tonight, low 60s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Statham, 60 degrees. Tallulah Falls, 56. And in Gainesville, 58. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It's getting cooler, and that means those outdoor pests want to be indoor residents. While a tube of caulk goes a long way to keep them out, Select Pest Control can make sure they don't leave alive. Select can put down a residual barrier that keeps the pest out. And if you want to do it yourself, they'll put the right product into your hands and make sure you know how to use it. Find out more at selectpest.net, or better yet, visit the Select store at 1786 Brownsbridge Road and tell them Todd Stern sent you.
Nobody wants to talk about septic services until there's a problem.
We're here to help. At SNS Septic, we are here 24 hours a day to help when you need us.
As a fourth-generation business, we know that SNS Septic is the one to call for pumping, repairs, installations, and more. We cover residential, commercial, and government projects. If you have septic or plumbing problems, call us.
That's right. You can find us on the web at septicga.com.
Call SNS Septic today to set up an inspection of your system and have everything taken care of before it all hits the fan.
Talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
Sides yesterday went quickly to their tribal corners. I think Kristi Noem's initial, this was a domestic terrorist, and kind of painting the deceased as this out of control, person was not the right thing to say at the moment. Even Tom Homan's initial reaction was, "Hey, I don't know enough yet. We need to learn. We need to gather the facts." So unfortunately, the knee jerk then, to me, the mayor, it's totally inappropriate. First off, using language like that. Secondly, ICE is doing their job, right? You can say, Donald Trump, we need to win the House back and change ICE policy, but ICE is doing their job. They have a right to go and try to find people who are here illegally. It's aggressive. It's not my, politics. But you are right. To me, it was sickening and sad to watch both sides just jump so hard at painting the other as this total extreme.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show. I'm here with Shondell Summer, and that's Dan Turrentine, who is someone that you'll see on something called Two Way. And Mark Halperin is another one of those independent journalists that have put out he has a couple of things called Two Way, and Next Up is another thing. And he does a lot more analysis of the news than reporting. But he has, this is a show he does where Sean Spicer, who was the Trump press secretary, Dan Turrentine, who's a Democratic consultant, and they usually add some other voice in there, and they have really thoughtful, deep discussions, not arguments, discussions about different sides of policy. And I just love it. I think there are some really great independent podcasts out there, and that's one of them.
Well, he made a good point, and that is immediately you had talking points, basically being proliferated by the Trump administration as this sort of fall in line, here we go again type of situation.
And on the other side, too.
And on the other side, you had people condemning ICE for doing their job. I think the problem I have with ICE is how heavy-handed they are. Mm-hmm. And the fact that law enforcement sometimes gets into this mode where they forget the fact that individuals have rights. And, for example, they could not detain her if there was no outstanding warrant, if she was not violating federal law, if she's not in the country illegally. They don't have the right to detain her. And maybe she knew that. Maybe she was leaving. Maybe she was trying to pull her car over to get out of the way. We don't know what was in her mind. And to infer all of these very nasty things and to use the politics of personal destruction to suggest that, why wasn't she at home taking care of her kids? I've seen the most obscene things in the world on Facebook, suggesting that a woman out exercising her constitutional rights is somehow not appropriate. That's Saudi Arabia, where you can't drive a car, not the United States of America.
Yeah, they drive cars now, but I get your point. I think what's interesting when you look at this is that we've got, ICE, for example, I just want to put hypothetically, I think we could all agree, certainly President Obama used ICE very aggressively. He was called the deporter in chief. They were deporting 400,000 a year during that period of time. It wasn't covered very much, but from what I understand, they were using pretty heavy-handed tactics in those days too, but for whatever reason, it didn't get covered as much, okay? And they were mainly doing deportation orders, which is what I really think. I think the Trump administration should do deportation orders, criminal illegal aliens, and, I don't mind when they get the sex offenders out, that kind of stuff, but it shouldn't be dragnets in neighborhoods. I think most people, even Republicans, don't agree with that.
You're right, Martha. They should stick with what Obama did, which was if you're in jail, if you get arrested, they check out your immigration status,
to cooperate,
and then they deport you.
So what do you do, though? This is the question. What do you do when, like in Minnesota, they have said, we are not going to help you with that? That if we detain someone in our jails and it turns out you've got a deportation order, we're not going to cooperate with you. So how do you handle that?
Well, that's different. I mean, that is done on a judicial level. You say the state of Minnesota is not cooperating and we want them forced to cooperate. We want all records of anybody who's arrested. They do it here.
Yeah.
We have 287G here.
That's why we've
been doing it forever.
Yeah.
Anytime someone is arrested, whether it's for fishing without a license or whether it's for murder, they run your immigration status.
Right.
And if you don't have the right paperwork, you're sent to ICE. So it's not, and that's where all those deportations came from in the Obama administration, is they were following that policy across the board.
But that's my question. You have got sanctuary states and cities that are saying, we will not cooperate with the federal government on this. And really, the Constitution says the federal government is the final authority on many of these things, especially on immigration law. The federal government is the final authority. So what do you do? Because then we had 4 years or whatever that not anybody was being deported. I mean, the numbers were crazy. There were 1.5 million deportation orders that Biden just wouldn't act on. So how, because you're in law enforcement in a way, peripherally, because you're in the legal system. If you've got people like Minnesota, I'm sure California is one of these states too. We know New York doesn't like to cooperate either. If they're not going to cooperate, is it a judicial thing you have to do to make them cooperate, or?
Yeah, in my opinion, what happened, and I'm not an expert on this subject, but I think what happened was they don't have the facilities to hold all of the people that they want to deport. So they leave them in the county jails and they leave them in the state's systems. And the state is saying, look, we don't want to hold these people over the time for what they're charged with just because you have a hold on them for the federal government. So they sit. And then we have overcrowded jails, and then we have lawsuits against the states for having overcrowded jails or the cities or Atlanta. And that was part of the problem. So they said, we're not going to necessarily hold all these people for you. We're going to let them out on bond or whatever it might be. So the system is broken to a certain extent. And then, of course, they go through these phases where they allow privatization of immigration services. So they allow these companies who are very profit-oriented to have holding warehouses, facilities for people, cages, and they put people in there. And that's inhumane. So it's a bigger problem, I think, with law enforcement than it looks like. It's not that simple. It doesn't flow smoothly. And I think that's the reason there's not a lot of cooperation with the federal government.
Well, and I think they also do take a political stance that they're a sanctuary state and they're not going to cooperate. I mean, there are people that say that. I mean, Tim Walz has said that on many occasions, that they are not going to cooperate with ICE on deportations. And in fact, if I were a conspiracy theorist, which I am not, I would think that he's kind of happy about what just happened with this woman, because he was about to really have the full force of the federal government on this Somali thing that was happening related, which is really why ICE was there, to look up all these Somali people that have been moving the $9 billion around on the Leering Center. That was so funny, that independent journalist that went to go check in one of these nurseries that was getting money, and they didn't spell the name right. It was ABC. It was supposed to be Learning Center, but it was Leering Center instead. And I just think
we haven't heard much about that since.
No, that's right.
And
it
I think
drowned it out.
Well, I think one of the reporters asked him, like, you showed up at a child care center and you are saying it wasn't functioning because they wouldn't let you in. Have you ever just been able to show up at
I agree with
child care center and walk in? Do you think they let you do that?
No. I agree with that 100%. A guy should not be surprised that if you show up, they're not going to let you in. I mean, I'm not even sure if I'm on the list of all my grandkids' daycare centers. You know, if you're not on the list, you're not going to get in.
Right.
You now, I mean, schools are locked down so much now that you can't just walk into a school. I had the wonderful North Hall metalworking folks. Shout out to North Hall High School. I had a bench made for my mother-in-law's grave, and I had to go pick it up at the school. I haven't been at a public high school. I mean, I've been for events because I'm on the school board, but having to just like show up at a public high school for something, I had to go through like the gauntlet to be able to get in.
They make you buzz in.
I don't disagree with what you're saying about that. What I do think that's got to happen is whether you like the federal law or not, that you have to cooperate with the law enforcement entities, and that if you don't like it, like Dan Turrentine said, you need to win elections and then you need to change the laws. Nathan Deal said it. I use it as a quote in my book back in 2005, Indivisible United Values for a Divided America, on the chapter about immigration. You need to enforce the laws or change them. If you don't like a law, you can't just have a wink and a nod and not enforce it. You should change it.
Well, I would, I would hearken you back to a time when abortion rights were a huge problem and people were protesting at abortion centers. And the federal law protects those centers, and the states were not doing things to protect the people coming in and out. It was a huge issue. And so there was a different tune being sung back then by certain conservatives about abortion. Right? It's okay to kill an abortion doctor because he's murdering people.
Nobody
right?
ever said that.
Oh,
that
was absolutely out there.
No, it happened
with a wink and a nod, if not blatantly stated.
No, when that happened, it was one abortion doctor, okay, and he was killed. I remember that, and I know that our movement immediately spoke out against it and said this is not what we do. Okay, the mainstream movement, yeah, there's always going to be crazy people, Shondell, that are going to do fringy things, okay? I don't think anybody thinks that that was okay. And I don't like it when people get, if they're peacefully protesting, you brought up abortion clinics, so I'll use that as the example. If you're praying in front of an abortion clinic on a sidewalk, you should not be asked to move. People may feel a little uncomfortable about that, but you get asked to move sometimes
but
because
you're
they don't want you
blocking
there.
Access.
Well, you may not be blocking access.
What if you are?
Well, if you are, you should move.
Okay.
So
it's okay for the police to. So if they had shot someone whose car was blocking an abortion clinic because they were protesting or they were observing who was going in and out, you'd be okay with that.
Something has to happen to cause them to be shot. No, I don't think you just shoot people because they're blocking the entrance.
Well, that's what happened yesterday.
No, I don't. We don't know that. We don't know that.
That's what it appears to me.
Yeah, but we don't know that yet, and that's why. You said it. I said it. We got to wait until this investigation happens and see what happens with the investigation.
If it's a fair and factual investigation, and they need to bring Minnesota in on it because all of the people who live there observed it. So they can't just use their law enforcement officers as the basis of the investigation. It needs to be a congressional investigation. I think that's great advice that J. Tom gave to everyone. And let Congress handle it. And quite frankly, there's going to be a reckoning on all of this stuff. It may be the next election. And you need to make sure the laws are applied fairly to both sides. Because next time it could be your issue or your side that is protesting. And you don't want people killed for exercising their rights to protest.
I don't disagree at all because I think the last administration went way overboard on how they used the Department of Justice against Donald Trump. And that now Donald Trump is going overboard on how he's using the Justice Department. But it's the tit for tat. It did not start, I hate to say it started with Democrats, but it did start in the Biden administration. Now there's emails out saying there was a lot of discussion about the raid on Mar-a-Lago and that people didn't agree with it and said that we don't have to do this. And then they got shut down. So,
the raid on Mar-a-Lago was because he had confidential classified material, and he wouldn't give it back. He was obstinate.
He was giving it back over time.
There was no raid on Joe Biden's house, even though he had classified material.
That's
right.
Because
he gave it back. He cooperated with law enforcement. So there is something to be said for, if somebody's not going to do anything, there are
Trump was cooperating. His people were meeting
all the
with him.
time in cases, and they don't want to come to court. They tell me they're not coming to court. They don't want to come. I'm like, well, I'm going to send you a subpoena. It's not like an invitation to a party.
No,
it's like,
I agree.
This is a subpoena. If you don't come, the law enforcement's going to come and pick you up. And they all of a sudden become cooperative. That didn't happen with Trump.
See, I disagree. His lawyers met with him. They were turning things over. I don't agree. He should have turned them all over immediately, okay? But at the same time, they were having me. It wasn't like Trump wasn't talking to him.
But why did we have to negotiate with him over what he was going to turn over when he's got classified materials and he's sharing it with people who are coming to the club? I mean, you just can't use Trump as the standard bearer for rules and laws because he doesn't think they apply to him.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. We'll be back.
Keeping you up to date with the latest news and weather. It's what we do every day.
It's the news I trust.
North Georgia's News Talk. AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
Looking for real farm fresh meat? At Potts Family Meats, we bring you beef the way it's meant to be. Raised locally, cut fresh, and packed with the quality only a family operation can deliver. From thick, juicy steaks to tender roast and the freshest ground beef in town, Potts Family Meats brings the farm straight to your table. No shortcuts, no long-distance shipping, just honest, homegrown beef you can trust. Stop in today and taste the difference or shop online at pottsbrosfarm.com to schedule your delivery. Potts Family Meats, farm fresh, family proud, always local.
Are you frustrated with your contacts? Have your glasses become more of a burden? Well, don't suffer. Hi, this is Kim. Here at Advanced Eye Center, we offer all laser LASIK to free your eyes. When you consider not only the amount of money you pay for all of that eye gear, but also the amount of time you spend handling contacts, glasses, cases, solution, and eye drops, how can you not afford to have LASIK? Invest in you. Save your money. Save your time at Advanced Eye Center. Vision correction for all ages.
For over 40 years, Eagle Ranch has helped thousands of children and families find healing and renewal. My name is John Shackelford, and I'm the Executive Director of Eagle Ranch. In 2021, our family felt a clear call to leave our life in Atlanta and come to steward the incredible legacy of the ranch into the future. The ranch continues to come alongside children and families through therapy, practical guidance, and resources, all anchored in the love of Christ. If you or someone you love needs the supportive, healing environment of Eagle Ranch, please encourage them to reach out to eagleranch.org.
Are you ready to tackle your lawn this cutting season? Get ahead of the game with Toro and Howard Brothers before spring is here. Now's the perfect time to prepare for spring with the trusted performance of Toro. Toro mowers are built to handle Georgia's toughest lawns with precision and durability on your side. Head to your local Howard Brothers and find the exact Toro mower to make your spring work a breeze. The grass is always greener when you take care of it with Toro and Howard Brothers.
On-time service and experience matter for your home's heating and air system. For more than 40 years, Conditioned Air Systems has been North Georgia's solution for residential HVAC installation, maintenance, and repair. Family-owned and operated, we deliver the highest quality service on any brand and model with no hidden fees, promising 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Comfort you can feel, quality you can trust. Visit conditionedairsystems.com to schedule an appointment.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, 3 Hall County Planning Board Commissioners are dismissed from duties during Thursday's County Commission meeting. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
And I think that a lot of people, for all sorts of reasons with agendas, are saying things that are really, really reckless right now. And they would do well to stop, because it will likely get more people hurt and or killed, including federal officers, which I know some people might not care. They might be fine with wounded or dead ICE officers. I am not. And anyone in a position of power should not be in this country. Zoran Mamdani, the new communist mayor of New York City, with a big smile on his face, who told us it's just about affordability, well, he's found some time to come out and say this was murder, an outrageous thing to say. Jasmine Crockett, who wants to be a Texas senator, called it a sanctioned execution. That's nuts. That is nuts. We are seeing this kind of individual and mob violence against federal officers carrying out their duties, lawful orders, when it comes to enforcing the laws of the United States of America. He pulled his gun when she went in to drive, and then she drove into him and hit him. The first shot went through the windshield. When you're going to interfere in law enforcement, especially if you're going to hit the gas pedal with an officer in front of you, bad things are going to happen. Don't do this.
That's Guy Benson, who's a good friend of the program. We got a couple of text messages in. One person said, not protesting, she was rioting. There was a difference. And then Susan said, Minnesota not cooperating with ICE is the number one cause of the ICE shooting. The woman shot was the leader of the protesters' convoy who was paying her. They are number two cause of the shooting. I do not blame the ICE agent for defending himself and the other officers. So, you know, I kind of agree with Guy in that you just need to wait until you comment on certain things.
Perpetrating that. I
Yeah.
mean, he says we need to wait and find out the facts before we say anything. And then he goes into a tirade, which is completely based on nothing. It's based on his opinion of watching a videotape, not even an expert. And then he draws conclusions from it. So, I mean, I find that totally irresponsible.
Maybe I've gotten just really cynical, is that I don't trust any video I see now. Even if somebody says, here's a copy of the video and we've slowed it down so you can watch it, but I don't trust it. I don't trust it because of the way AI is and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not saying anybody would tamper with any of this stuff, but I am to the point now where I am much more willing to wait and make sure that, you know, because I do still trust our justice system. I think that it goes through levels of good and bad. I mean, heck, Tammany Hall back in New York City back in the day, it was corrupt. There's always people trying to corrupt the justice system, right? Do you think that's a fair statement? There's always people trying to do it.
I think it's never been worse than it is right now.
You can go back in history.
I think locally, you know, in a local jurisdiction where it's not a high-profile crime or something, you get justice. I don't see any issues with people I deal with on a daily basis. But I can tell you, watching the justice system now and their modus operandi and the fact that everybody is a crony and everybody is appointed because of their political opinions, there's no justice.
Well, that's kind of the way it's always been, though. Whoever's in power is the person that appoints people, and they're people that think the way they do. Now, today, shifting gears a little bit, Mangione, he's going to court today.
Mangione.
Yeah,
I thought
the
you
guy.
meant Mondami for a second.
Yeah, no,
so
the United Healthcare guy, and they're trying to get the charges taken away that would lead to the death penalty. That's what they're trying to do today. They're trying to say, and I think the charge is called death with a firearm. I don't understand how they can take that one away, but so we'll talk a little bit about.
Well, that's kind of standard operating procedure in any death penalty case. You're going to have a plethora of motions that might not make sense.
But they've got him all nice and clean cut and looking gorgeous. I tell you, that Mangione guy, and all the women are outside. Yeah, he's kind of a folk hero. We'll be back.
You've got meals to plan, children to ferry from practice to ball games, shopping and dusting, and good grief. Give yourself a break and take your laundry to Townview Coin Laundry. Take your comforters, quilts, blankets, and mattress covers. They'll wash, dry, and fold your laundry, or you can use their industrial-sized machines. Townview Coin Laundry saves wear and tear on your washer and dryer and on you, too. Get the stains out at Townview Coin Laundry at the corner of Bradford Street and College Avenue in downtown Gainesville, open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
The new year means new resolutions, not just for your body, but for your finances as well. Did you know that financial health is directly related to your identity protection? This is why you need LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your subscription money back. Resolve to make your identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com and save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The regular season's over. Now it's time to deal the wild cards.
Winner goes to the playoffs. Loser goes home.
The NFL moves into postseason play as the Panthers host the Rams, followed by the Bears hosting the Packers.
To the 5, into the end zone.
Coverage begins this Saturday at 4 on North Georgia's News Talk. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. The Supreme Court out with its first ruling of the year involving a 2008 attack on an armored car. Justices have till June to weigh in on one of the most closely watched cases before the High Court, a challenge to the legality of President Trump's global tariffs.
Revlon, Goodyear, and Costco were among the companies suing to stop President Trump's tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. If they win, they could be in line for billions of dollars in refunds. Justice Amy Coney Barrett asked the plaintiff attorney Neil Katyal about how that would all work during arguments back in November. Katyal said they could tailor a decision to give refunds to only the plaintiffs involved in the case.
That's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal.
The Tax Foundation says roughly $200 billion were raised in tariff revenues last year.
And the U.S. military intercepting a fifth sanctioned oil tanker in the Caribbean Sea. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. Last night's Hall County Commission meeting saw the forceful end of a combined 45 years of service on the Planning Commission as 3 planners were ousted in a 4-0 vote after allegedly violating Georgia's Open Meetings Act. The planners' counsel, Tony Powell, argued that the process should have been played out in court.
The burden of everything that these planning commissioners have been charged with, they didn't do any of that. That was not their responsibility. Somebody does that compliance for you.
In the end, Frank Soseby, Chris Braswell, and Stan Hunt were all removed from their positions. Registration and enrollment for various Gainesville City School System school choice programs will soon open for the next school year as the district offers programs of choice for students in K through 8th grade. Students are assigned to schools based on their residential addresses, but may apply to attend other schools. And full details found at Access WDUN. In the city of Cumming, officials honor a Forsyth County Sheriff's Office volunteer who lost his life while assisting with a city event last month. More from WDUN's Lawson Smith.
The city says it is renaming the intersection of Castleberry Road and Buford Dam Road the Sergeant Rob Muth Memorial Intersection. Sergeant Muth was struck by a vehicle at the intersection while directing traffic for the city's Christmas parade and later died from his injuries. The ceremony will be held on Monday at 12 p.m. at the intersection.
With more details found online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN Friday forecast.
A lot of cloud cover around, areas of patchy fog, also scattered rain showers developing today. Mid-60s for highs. Periods of rain likely tonight, low 60s. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Claremont, 59 degrees. Swanee, 62. And in Gainesville, 60. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It's WDUN's Bill Maine inviting you to join me September 28th as we journey to sunny Portugal with Colette and Peach State Bank and Trust. We'll explore Europe's old world charm, spending multiple nights in charming Porto and the amazing Algarve coast. We'll walk the cobblestone streets and cruise the scenic Douro River from the colorful capital of Lisbon to the stunning cliffs and whitewashed villages of the Algarve. We'll visit the breathtaking shoreline of the Portuguese Riviera and see ancient castles, groves of orange and almond trees. Plus, we'll visit the quaint villages of Lagos, Sintra, and Cascais. Then there's the famous wine, savory foods, and beautiful beaches. Plus, we'll visit a family-owned cork factory. Yeah. Colette covers all the details, flights, meals, hotels, all of that. We just need to have a good time. So don't miss out. Call Colette at 800-581-8942 or visit WDUN.com for full details.
Let me show you the world. Come away with me.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. I'm here with Shondell Summer, and we're talking about the issues of the day. And we were talking a little bit in the break about New York, and both of us love going to New York. I love traveling into New York. It's always been a city. My dad grew up in Jersey City, so he loved New York, and I'm sure that's why I love New York. You know, he used to talk about it great. He has this great story about when he came back from the war. He had been a POW, and he came back from the war, and people were doing a lot of things for guys that were coming back. So there was this group of veterans that got to go to the 21 Club, and we have this great picture of my mom and dad in 1945, and my mother always had a fabulous hat on, and her hair looked great and all that stuff. And one of those pictures in the heart-shaped booth at the 21 Club, which is, you know, iconic. You know, I don't even know if it's there anymore, but it was iconic at the time. And my dad had been in kind of parallel circles with Frank Sinatra before the war. Okay, so my dad worked on Wall Street, and so they would take the bus from Journal Square in Jersey City into the city. And of course, Sinatra was famously from Hoboken, and he was doing odd jobs. And so they kind of had peripheral friends. And because both of their first names were Frank, people would make jokes about it. Oh yeah, Frank, you know. And so my dad's at the 21 Club, and Frank Sinatra is performing. And he never liked Frank Sinatra because he thinks he dodged going to the war. So it's very funny because he wasn't too young, but for whatever reason, he didn't end up going. And, you know, there was that sort of feeling. We started talking at the beginning of the show about conscripted service, but there was that sort of feeling especially in World War II, if you didn't go, why? Why didn't you go? It was sort of that feeling. But it was kind of a cool time. I mean, it was a very cool time in New York.
Yes. I mean, I love New York. I just got back from a lovely trip there for the weekend in early December. And my sister, who works for a real estate development company there, was able, they were the ones that did the ball drop, the new ball drop that's come back. It's a Swarovski crystal ball. And so we got to go up and touch the ball.
Oh, you're kidding. That's fantastic.
It was very interesting. I thought we were pretty low to the ground, but then when I looked back, it's like, wow, it's way up there. And so we had that experience. And then I also got to eat at 11 Madison, which has been voted the world's best restaurant.
Was it the world's best restaurant?
Honestly, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I think they try too hard to be, you know, unusual. And I kind of got sick afterwards. So I don't know. Maybe it's too much rich food.
We went the last time Suzanne and I went to see shows. We went to this place called Sarah Beth's, which is a brunch place on Park Avenue, and so we went there, and it was great. And I'm planning for 27 to take my family to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Now, next year's the 100th anniversary of the parade. You won't be able to touch tickets for that. So that's kind of in the works to plan that for, you know, because it's kind of on my bucket list. I want to be able to do that. But New York's a tough town. I mean, I think all of us, most everybody I know in the work that I was in, everybody wanted to end up going to New York and living for some period of time, but it's a hard city to live in. I mean, Suzanne thought about it because she was acting and wanted to do Broadway, but she ended up staying in Atlanta and doing it in Atlanta for 7 years because she just said, Mom, it's just everybody I know that's moved up there. It's so hard. It's such hard living.
Yeah. In fact, when we got back, we went to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl and met up with some friends of my son's from Ole Miss, and one of them works in New York City. And he was saying, telling my daughter, who has this fantasy of moving up there, that it's dark there all the time. Because there's such large, tall buildings, the sun really never shines. So the buildings feel very dark. It's cold. The wind's whipping through there. So it's uncomfortable to begin with to have a daily life.
Yeah, the sun goes down behind the buildings. It's dark at like 4:30.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody is screaming. The legal community is not civil. And I mean, there's a lot of that in the legal community in general, even here. But that in New York, it's much more intense because everybody feels like they're a New Yorker and they have to have this image of being tough. So it sounded horrible to me.
Yeah, yeah.
But she still is kind of interested. I don't know that she wants to go through the process of trying to take another bar exam.
Well, and one of the biggest, hardest thing for women is that it's like 8-1, women to single men, single women to single men. It's great for men that go up there, but there's a lot of single women, and so it's really hard to date. So it's interesting there. But look, you went to the Sugar Bowl?
I went to the Sugar Bowl,
Yeah.
yes, had great seats, got to watch that phenomenal game, and then the spirit in the stands, everybody was high-fiving. I'm not a particularly warm person to be around if you're a stranger. And so,
But you have to be in that
but by
situation.
the end of it, I was like hugging and,
It was a good
consoling.
Actually, except for the first round games of the playoffs, it's been very good games. All the games.
Oh,
I mean,
the
even
games
though
are
they didn't
great.
end up the way I wanted them to.
Yeah.
It was good games.
The whole season, that's what I thought last night. It's been a great season. I'm actually kind of going through this little withdrawal feeling where it's like there's no more college football for me, at least.
2 more. Well, you'll watch. I mean, there's a game tonight, which, Indiana's the favorite, big favorite, but don't count Oregon out. Everybody's been counting them out all season, and here they are in the semifinals. So you never know because you are still dealing with young people, and any team can beat any other team on any given day. And I want to be next year 6, 7, or 8. I don't want any timeout because this time off, 7 of the 8 teams in the last 2 years that got the bye week lost, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that Georgia Ole Miss game was phenomenal. I mean, the lead changing.
For
And last
you.
night was the same thing, but lead changing back and
Yes,
forth.
yes.
And then we thought it was over. The stands were erupting. I thought everybody was going to rush the field, but apparently that's not a thing in New Orleans. And then they were like, no, we got 2 more seconds on the clock. And they do this trick play,
And they
which
get
coulda
a
worked.
safety. Oh, my God.
It was just
It was crazy. Let's go to the phones now and talk to Roy in Houston. Hey, Roy, how you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Great.
Let me start out saying, Shondell, don't feel bad. University of Michigan lost their coach to a sex scandal, and then we lost to Texas, and I'm down here in Houston talking big smack and feeling the blues right now. So
Yeah, that's true.
you got and Indiana and Oregon are both Big Ten schools, and we're not going to be there. Even though Oregon's not really a Big Ten school, I refuse to call all of those old Pac-10 schools Big Ten schools because they're not.
Yeah.
They're West Coast schools. Anyway, Martha, I sent you a text earlier about you're wrong about cronies always following the president's wishes. And the easiest example is Nixon's attorney general during the Saturday Night Massacre refused to fire Archibald Cox, and then he hired him. He fired him and got an assistant.
I didn't say didn't follow the wishes,
Okay.
but I said they're political appointees. So you would expect them
they
to
are.
be,
But they're still
aligned
professional.
to some way. Yeah, they're professionals. And hey, just look at
And these guys aren't.
Just look at Supreme Court appointees. All Supreme Court appointees go left over the time of their career, and that they, they don't always do what we think the president wants. So we'll see.
Right. And I think this administration's they're unqualified. And my question to you is, what is your assessment right now of the Trump administration? I mean, I hear you talking about you like the economic forecast because it hasn't come true. But I mean, overall, because I think foreign policy is terrible. But what is your assessment? Because I think he needs to be gone. So,
well, I mean,
you tell me.
the voters will decide that. But I mean, as far as, I think overall, gas in 18 states is now below $2 a gallon. We've got, economically, the tariffs didn't do as bad as everybody said they were going to do. The markets are good. But I do acknowledge, as the president is doing with what he's doing with housing prices and things like that, that there's a lot of work that has to be done. And I've said very clearly, if people aren't feeling it by the end of the first quarter, I'm talking about working people feeling it by the end of the first quarter, it's going to be very difficult for us in the wait, let me finish, Roy. You asked me a question, so let me finish. It's going to be very difficult to for the midterms. Now, the only thing we got going for us right now, quite frankly, is the fact that the polling on Democrats is even worse than the polling on Republicans right now. Now, because they have lost their luster, Democrats have lost their luster with working class people. And I'm not saying they won't go back, because it's 2 or 3. They've only voted with Trump for one election. So they're not there yet. But look, the jury's out. I still think Kamala Harris would not have been able to handle any of this. I kind of like what he did in Venezuela. I kind of like what he's done with NATO. I kind of like that he's being tough around the world and exercising American strength. But no, I think I still don't like his style. I still don't like the tactics he uses. But I don't think he's corrupt. I think he is transparent. I mean, he just sat down with the New York Times for 4 hours and 4 reporters. He tells you what he's thinking every minute of every day.
That's because he's a lame duck.
And I don't think that's transparency. I think he just likes to ramble. But you mentioned Venezuela. Okay, and this is one of the things about Venezuela. It doesn't bother you that he bamboozled us into thinking this is it's all about drugs, but it's about oil, and it's about him nation building. And the oil companies it'll lower the price. We'll have a glut of oil if what he wants to happen happens. They don't want to go in there and do that. And he's got the biggest swamp ever. He talked about they want to get rid of the swamp. He's got the biggest swamp ever. He's filled with cronies. They're all unqualified. So
I think don't you think that's a dramatic statement? They're all unqualified. Would you like somebody to say, like, maybe about black people, they're all this or they're all that? I just to make a blanket statement that every person in the Trump administration is unqualified, I don't think it's fair.
Well, okay, then they're mostly unqualified. Is that better?
Well, you know what? I think that.
They're all political appointees, and that, by and large, means that they have sucked up and they have done something to curry favor with those in power.
I was a political appointee in the United States Senate for 5 years with David Perdue, okay? And I was there. I got that position, yes, because I supported him and I worked on his campaign. But I still sat down and had tough discussion. Yeah.
If he would have asked you to do something that was against your grain, morally, ethically, whatever, would you have done it or not?
No, but he wouldn't have done that.
Of course.
Yeah,
and that's because people used to have integrity, but now everyone is afraid of having integrity with Trump because it doesn't get you anywhere.
But that's not what you hear from the inside about that he listens to everybody, that he is a good, I mean, even Bill Maher said he's a good listener. So, look, I hear you, Roy, and I understand what you're saying. You don't like Donald Trump. I'm not the biggest fan of Donald Trump either, but he is the duly elected president of the United States, just like I always said about Biden. He was the duly elected president of the United States, and you know what? We've been through worse. We have been through worse. We'll be fine.
Well, the good thing is it's the United States, at least as long as it remains the United States.
It will.
Because he's an authoritarian and he is a Machiavellian. And as long as the United States has the laws and the Constitution to circumvent his baser instincts, then we'll be okay. Yeah, and it's only another year.
It isn't another year. He's got 3 years. Okay.
Well, I'm assuming he's going to be defanged at the midterm elections.
Well, you know what? We assumed we were going to win at the last midterm elections, and we didn't.
I assumed Ole Miss was going to win last night. So I'm not suggesting I have a crystal ball.
Thanks for your call today. We'll take a break and we'll be back.
In North Georgia,
it's the topics that matter to me.
We're your eyes and ears in the community with the latest breaking news.
It's the most important thing we face.
AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
We're talking with Mike Robertson of Oakwood Tire and More. And Mike, I understand you guys have moved.
Where can we find you?
3440 Mabry Road, which is right off of Mountain View.
Still offering the same services?
We won't be doing alignments, but we'll be doing tires. Tires, brakes, batteries, tune-ups, those kind of things that normal maintenance repair.
Sounds good. Give us the address one more time. Make sure we don't miss out.
You can find us at 3440 Mabry Road at oakwoodtire.com or even the same phone number, 770-535-0943.
Your parents are getting up there in years. You want to talk to them about their future, their plans, what they've done to prepare, where they want to live if they get sick. But you don't know where to start. Or when you bring up the topic, they change the subject. Sound familiar? Hi, I'm Haley Brock, attorney and owner of Kimbrough Law. Millions of people find themselves in this situation. Almost no one likes to talk about aging and death. But Kimbrough Law's free legal guide can make it easier. The free legal guide shows you how to plan for a productive talk, how to start the conversation, and how to deal with common responses, including pushback. You'll also find sections on how to pay for long-term care, how to protect family assets, how to get the right legal documents, and more. So don't put it off. Have the talk. To get your free legal guide, go to kimbroughslaw.net and click on Resources. Visit kimbroughslaw.net and click on Resources.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, authorities have arrested a second suspect this week behind a Hall County chop shop case. Details at Access WDUN. And coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN talk and text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
The college football playoff semifinals are off to a thrilling start. Miami will play for a national title, beating Ole Miss 31-27 at the Fiesta Bowl, with Hurricanes quarterback Carson Beck rushing for the go-ahead touchdown with less than 20 seconds remaining. After Ole Miss grabbed the lead late in the fourth quarter, Beck led Miami on a 15-play, 75-yard drive for the win. The Hurricanes will now play for their first national title since 2001, and they'll do so at Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida. Miami will face the winner of Friday night's matchup between Oregon and undefeated Indiana. Joe Morgan, Fox News.
So, I think it'll be a great game if it's either Oregon or Miami. I think more people will watch it if it's, Oregon or Indiana. I think more people will watch it if it's Indiana and Miami. I think that Oregon and Miami, you may not have as many people watch it.
You know, Carson Beck was the quarterback for Georgia, so you've got
But he didn't play those games, even though he's got the rings.
Right. And, is there something unfair about him being in college for 7 years?
Yeah, I agree.
And
do you know how that happened?
No.
They got an extra year of eligibility because of COVID.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how Stetson Bennett did it too.
Right.
He stayed in forever. So he and then he had an injury. So he appealed to the NCAA to give him this extra availability because of COVID.
I will say, watching the game last night, I did feel like Kirk Herbstreit, who's very negative towards any kind of SEC team, that Miami looked stronger the entire game, and I was just so thrilled when they kept getting penalties, and that was like the best positive yardage Ole Miss got. But toward the end, I thought Ole Miss really kind of played their game and got it back, and then there's just one mistake where they dropped the ball right on the 6-yard line and couldn't convert that to a touchdown.
And pretty much all the coaches from last week's games forward are assistant coaches for Nick Saban. They came out of the Saban thing, which is crazy because they were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean the whole thing with Ole Miss and losing all the coaches and Lane Kiffin's departure and all of that seems to be water under the bridge. In fact, I'm really kind of glad Lane Kiffin was not the coach last night. I think Pete Goulding is much more steady and stable.
And he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy, but he doesn't make stupid mistakes like not going for a field goal on 4th down.
I would love
Kiffin would have done.
I'm not willing to pay the money, but I would love to go to the LSU Ole Miss game next year. I mean, it was so funny because when I was in Israel, there were 3 or 4 people with the group with me that were Ole Miss fans, and then I walked into the restaurant where we're staying at the hotel in Jerusalem, and I bumped into Ben Ferguson, who's a radio talk show host from America. He was in with a different group, and he's an Ole Miss fan. He had his Ole Miss stuff on. So this is like, even though they're not going to the championship, this was Ole Miss's year. They had a great year, and
yes.
You can't deny that.
Having followed them for probably 10 years very closely, I can say this was no doubt their best year. The most exciting football season I've ever watched. And I was there for them beating Alabama in 2014. I was in person in Oxford, and that was a huge night. So this was great. And I can't wait for next season. We'll see a lot of the same players are staying. Lacey's staying. Chambliss is staying. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think it's going to be – I'm looking forward to next season too. I get over the losses a lot quicker just because, I know they're going to be – Georgia's going to be good. But the SEC did terrible this year in the bowl games. I mean, they didn't win really. I think Ole Miss was the only one. We won one, I guess. But Ole Miss was, did the best of all the SEC teams. And, and you're right. That's straight. What's his name? Herb
Street is his
Herb
last
Street
name.
is
Kirk
his last
is
name.
His first name.
Yeah, he loves talking about how, the luster off the SEC is gone.
Yeah,
he
loves
to.
If
He loves
you
to
hear
go after
him
the
commentate
SEC.
Georgia games, he's very negative
about
about
he is.
Georgia. And then he was kind of negative about Ole Miss last night, but I had to admit I agreed with some of his comments about how he felt like Miami was a stronger team and that the score didn't reflect it because Ole Miss was kind of hanging in there the whole time. So, maybe he also does a lot of NFL commentary as well. He seems to know what he's talking about.
Well, hopefully they'll get this whole NIL thing straightened out and get some parameters around it. The big challenge on the federal level, the NCAA is asking for, and the college presidents are asking for the Congress to pass some laws related to this. And the challenge is that the Democrats want to create a union for the players so that there's some rules around all this kind of stuff. And a lot of the college presidents don't want to go that far, but they want some parameters because like what the whole thing about the transfer portal and Lane Kiffin and all this kind of stuff just kind of laid bare these problems we've got with this system we've got right now in college football.
I think it's incredibly inequitable for these players who are basically doing the institution's bidding. They're bringing billions of dollars to the table to be paid nothing and to risk their lives to do it. So I do think there should be some free agency with that. However, I also think these are 18-year-old kids entering into contracts. And they need some type of nationalized program which protects them from, the shysters out there who will get them to sign up with this collective or that collective and not pay them.
Yeah, an old friend of mine was her goal, is to kind of be that kind of negotiator for these players, because the New York Times at the Super Bowl week, they'll always pick a year of the Super Bowl and then kind of do a where are they now kind of thing with the players from a particular year. And you would be shocked, even at the professional level, how many of these players are broke, 10 years, 20 years,
Absolutely.
30 years down. And so I think the NFL's doing a better job of giving them some financial management, but we'll see what happens. And Matt Stafford might be the MVP of the NFL 17 years into his career. Go Dogs. We'll be back.